Hey there. Hello, how do you do? My name is Harry Wetzel. Thanks for coming. It's the 80s, darling. Yes, it is. It is the last Sunday in April 1985. All right. I'm in the middle of a date with the lovely Diet the Second. Yes. And we just saw a movie called The Gods Must Be Crazy. And then we took a taxi cab up to the Mocha restaurant, which sits directly across the street from the ghost of Vino Veritas, the late booze store. Yes, now a paint store. But when we got out of the cab, I looked across the street and I had a ghostly vision of Vino Veritas and all the ghosts who once inhabited and perhaps still do inhabit that place, yes. And then cab drove away. It drove away. And Diet and I turned and went into the Mocha, M-O-C-C-A, the Mocha restaurant, Hungarian restaurant, which is like going into another time, another land. It is 1947 Budapest. Yes, it's so fantastic. There's lace curtains and lace tablecloths and a tuxedoed maitre d', and all the wait staff is in tuxedos. Very elegant, very slick. Welcome to the Mocha. Right this way. And he sat us down and he presented us with menus. And he said, the special tonight is the Wiener Schnitzel. The special tonight is the goulash. He says, the dining room will close in 20 minutes. And poof, he was gone. And so I'm sitting there and we're sitting there and Diet says, what the hell did he mean by that? And I'm like, what do you mean? She said, the dining room will close in 20 minutes. What, is he going to rush us out? I'm like, huh? Oh, no, 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 no. He's not going to give us the bum's rush or anything. He's just letting us know if we've got any other party members coming. They better hurry up or they're not going to be allowed in. I don't know. He's not going to give us the bum's rush. I guarantee it. She says, well, I just don't know. I got a feeling. I feel uncomfortable. I said, it'll be fine. You like Wiener Schnitzel? And she says, I don't know. I think maybe we should leave. And I'm like, and I'm on my first date, best behavior, and I want to go along and be as supportive as I can. So I'm like, are you sure? And she says, yeah, I just don't feel comfortable. I think maybe we should leave. And I'd frankly rather stay, but we're already here. We're already here. But I say, once again, I say, are you sure? And she said, yes, please. And I'm like, okay, all right. So we're leaving. She says, what do we do? I said, it's as simple as standing up. And so I get up and I stand up, and she stands up, and the maitre d' floats on over, and he's like, yes. And I'm like, we're very sorry, but we remembered something. We must be going. She says, we're sorry, but we'll be leaving. And so he said, that's a shame. I look forward to perhaps seeing you next time. And so we walked to the front door, and he opened the front door for us, and he let us out onto the street. And he said, see you again soon. He said, yes. And he shut the door. And now we're standing out on the street. And it is sort of a weird vibe. He was very slick and smooth, so that we didn't even feel bad about it. But it's a weird vibe. Because I'd rather be in there sitting down. I mean, we were already here, but I thought to clear the air, I said, well, I said, what do you, where to next, baby? And I gave her a smooch on the cheek. Right. So, she said, well, I do love this place we're going. And she said, with renewed energy, let's get a cab. And I'm like, of course we're going to get a cab. And so we wait for a cab, and we get a cab, and then we get in the cab, and we take the cab over to this other restaurant, which is over $10 away from the Mocha restaurant. And I'm panicking as I'm going, looking at the ching, 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 as it's tallying up as we drive from one part of town to a completely different part of town, right? We get to this lovely little place, a little Italian restaurant uh, called, you know what it's called? Marconi's. Right. So anyhow, it's this little place called Marconi's, and I paid for the taxi cab ride over to Marconi's. And we go inside, and it's a lovely little place. It's dark, it's comfy, it's been there 100 years, and they have all sorts of fantastic, delicious meals. And so I had the Alfredo, and Diet had the carbonara. And so we shared and we switched a little bit. It was very nice. It was very romantic. We had a lovely date. We even set up our next date. We're going to get together next week. Yes. We're going to get together next Sunday and have this be a Sunday night thing for a while, or perhaps. Yes. We're going to meet over on Amsterdam at this place called the Bar with the Neon Clock. That's what we call it. We don't know what it's called. Neither one of us knows what it's called, but it's this bar with it's got a neon clock, and it always looks like the future when you go over there. Right. So that's where we're going to meet in a week. Yes. So that's very exciting. And we're enjoying our meal and each other's company. And she's very laughy and friendly. It's very nice. So then time to settle up. And they come up with a cute little clipboard with a little bill on it. And the wait staff lady puts our bill down. And I pick it up and I look at it and I'm like, ugh. I didn't plan for all those cab rides. And it's the last Sunday in the month, so I only allotted so much money for tonight's escapade. And I cannot cover dinner by myself. And it's our first date, so I figure it'll be okay. So I say, hey, what do you say we split this right up the middle? And she's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, it's our first date. I figure it'll be all right. We can split it right up the middle. What do you say? And she looked at me, and it instantly must have flipped a switch in Diet's head, because she instantly went from sweet to sour. And she said, a hard sigh like that. And she goes, I'll get it. It's all right. And I'm like, no. We can split it right up the middle. And she pulls out her Lorna Spumoni clutch purse, and she takes out her little credit card, her little piece of plastic, and she snaps it down on the little clipboard. Chakunk, snap. And she sort of holds it up, and our waitress lady is over there, and she takes it and she comes back, and then Diet signs off on the thing, and I say, do you want me to leave the tip? She says, I got it. So next thing I know, we're standing out in front of the restaurant in icy silence. Yes, we're waiting for a cab. Nice. So I go, we get in the cab, and now we're riding along, and I go, at least you want me to get this cab? She says, you should have brought more money for this evening. And I said, I didn't plan on all those extra cab rides. She said, well, you've got to plan for the unexpected. I said, that's why they call it the unexpected. And we sat in icy silence for the rest of the ride. She said, Central Park South, to the cabbie. So we go up Broadway, and eventually we get up to Central Park South. He makes a right. She says, right up here, the Colossal Apartment. So we get out in front of the Colossal Apartments, right across the street from Central Park. It is on Central Park South. And the cabbie, she pays and leaves a tip. And I'm like, and she's like, don't, I've got it. And so the cab takes off and we're standing there. And she looks at me and she says, well, see ya. And she has sort of a smile on. And I'm like, see ya? Like, okay. If that's what you say, And so she gives me this weird half one-armed hug, and I sort of give her a half one-armed hug, and then she says, all right, and she turns and goes on into the colossal apartments. And I'm standing there and I'm like, that was weird. That was weird. And it was fucked. It was fucked and it was weird. She acted like I didn't exist. And then she acted all normal at the end. I don't know what to think. And so I looked across the street. I skidded across the street over to Central Park, turned around and looked up at the colossal apartment buildings. I said, well, we're never getting in there, I'll tell you that. So I walked on over to Broadway and walked on up, stopped at the local deli and got a beer for the rest of the walk home. Of course I did. All right, now it's the following week. It's the following Sunday, and we've got a 7:00 date at the bar with a neon clock. Yes, over there on Amsterdam Avenue on 77th or something like that. Right. So that's a 7:00 date, and at 7:00, I'm not going. I don't even feel like going. That girl hated my guts. What am I going to do? Go to this crummy date and get yelled at again if I don't have enough money? Forget it. I'm standing this one up. So I do. And I'm sitting around the apartment, sitting down while I'm standing up D at the second. And there's my roommate, Pamela, and her sweetheart, David, and then our excellent friend, Rich, our Detroiter friend. Rich is my birthday guy. We became lifelong friends as soon as we found out that we shared a birthday. Yes. And we're both from Detroit, but we didn't meet until we were here in New York. Yes. Fantastic. And so the four of us are sitting around smoking reefer. It's a fantastic evening. It is. It's a lovely Sunday night. I'm sitting here with my roommate and my friends. It's very nice. And along about 7:30, the phone rings. Yes. So I meander on back. I'm screening the call. I'm not going to get it. Are you kidding? That's why we have answering machines. I'm screening the call. So I'm standing there and I'm listening to it. And it is. It's Diet. It's Diet the second. And she's talking on the phone how she's surprised I didn't show up after we had such a lovely time. I'm like, what? She says, I thought we had such a wonderful time. I'm very surprised that you didn't show up. And I'm like, I thought you hated my guts. And she says, well, she says, I'm not talking to her. I'm just, I'm on, listen, I'm screening. She says, I'm disappointed. And she hangs up. And I'm like, well, this is a confusing answering machine message because I thought that woman hated my guts and now she's talking like she did not hate my guts. Well, ultimately, she treated me so terribly after I didn't have enough money that I'm glad that I stood her up because who wants to go out with somebody like that? She was just not exactly, we weren't made for each other. It was fine. And so it can be no surprise that I never saw her again. And I never saw her again. AINSHA. And I never saw her again. AINSHA. It's a word that I became quite familiar with because so many times in my life in New York, and I had to say, and I never saw her again. Oh, AINSHA. Yes, you know, so Diet the first, AINSHA. Diet the second, AINSHA. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for coming. And don't forget to leave a comment. All right. If I haven't heard from you, please say something. All right. Thanks for coming.